Before the spinning kicks, before the splits, before Jean-Claude Van Damme became a full-blown action icon, there was a film that genuinely believed a kid could learn martial arts by hanging around in a playground, chasing his mate on a BMX bike, and being trained by the ghost of Bruce Lee. This is a world where your dojo is a garage, your sensei is no longer technically alive, and your training regime looks like it was organised during a long summer holiday with absolutely no adult supervision. It's scrappy, it's earnest, and it's completely off its head. But somehow, it works. This is No Retreat, No Surrender, so let's get to the cheddar. So today we're talking about No Retreat, No Surrender, the film that came out in 1986 and was a massive hit on VHS. It was not a big hit in the cinema, but when it came to VHS, everybody watched it, like everybody. I remember seeing it at a friend's birthday party, this crazy martial arts movie that was like Karate Kid jacked up on steroids, but with about a third of the budget. So for me, it was a glorious moment watching this film, and the more you go back to it, you kind of like it. It is terrible, but you kind of like it. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, it's a strange one because for me, obviously, at the time you mentioned, I was a video shop owner,
Mm,
and No Retreat, No Surrender did incredible repeat business for me. Always on loan, people trying to order it, um, and it was obviously in the days where small independent shops we didn't have the blockbuster style 20, 30 copies, so
mm.
its longevity was incredible because people kept saying, "I need to see it, I need to see it," and for me, it's historic in the sense that it was part of a whole new wave of a certain type of martial arts film. You and I were discussing beforehand, like King of the Kickboxers,
Mm.
Cynthia Rothrock's China O'Brien series, the Don Wilson movies. They sort of all come in, and of course, Van Damme's own career start to come in on the back of this wave. And the thing that I like making links, this wave was the first movie from Corey Yuen in English language, his first like American movie. And so it segued from you and I are great fans of Jackie Chan's 1980s output with his two
Mm.
brothers, Samo and Yun. And they sort of like followed that tradition. He sort of almost made that in that Hong Kong tradition with that over the top style and then the action. So it was all a circle for me. You could see whatever its individual merits, it was part of this whole cycle that rushed through the 80s where martial arts movies, if you were a collector, the biggest part of your collection would come from the 1980s. And as you mentioned, not being a cinema hit, let's go one step further. If you read some of the reviews, they're hilarious in the way they put it down. You know, you mentioned the Karate Kid. One says, one reviewer, I think it was Time Out's reviewer, said, leans heavily into the Karate Kid, but makes that look like a masterpiece. I mean, I thought Karate Kid was a good film, but so it's a very strange movie because, as you rightly nailed on the head, it's still got this incredible cult following. And it's great to see the first, we know there's little cameos, but the first physical performance by the man that would become an icon, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, I actually think it was one of the first VHSs I actually bought back when, because when they VHS first came out, you could only rent, you couldn't buy. And
Mm.
then after a while, and they were ridiculously priced. It was like 15 quid back in the 80s, which is like, I don't know, 50, 60 quid these days. So the price of a video game. And remember my first one. My first one was Ghostbusters, and I bought that from W.H. Smith's. I can remember it very clearly. I was very excited. It's still my favorite film. And then at some point, No Retreat, No Surrender entered my video collection very quickly after it came out because entertainment in video, that tape must have got worn out. I must have watched the end fight and stuff so many times over because it was so cool. Yeah, this film was made for 1 to 2 million, and you can see every penny. and where they saved quite a few as well throughout. It was shot on location in the US in Seattle, but it does have, as we've mentioned, a very heavy Hong Kong influence. And this, as we mentioned, was one of the earliest Western films to lean into the whole Bruce Lee mythology, which was quite interesting because nobody had really done it. You had The Karate Kid, which was kind of an ode to Rocky almost,
Mm.
but with karate, and everybody started
Same
doing wax on,
director.
wax off. Yeah, exactly. Everybody was, this started the karate wave, and then Canon took the karate wave and created the ninja wave, and so this is where it all sort of blew up. But this 86 was, I think we mentioned this last month in the Delta Force, Get to the Cheddar. Um, 86 was the real zenith year for action. I think this is where it peaked, really. We got to 86. And then there's some good stuff in 87 and obviously Die Hard in 88, which greatest action blockbuster of all time. But this was like hit after hit after hit after hit. And I think
Well, you
this is
mentioned
it.
getting into the Bruce Lee mythology. I mean, Kim Chong, South
Mm,
Korean guy who plays Bruce in the movie, very functional, very believable as the ghost. I mean, it's the ghostly Bruce Lee. Um, was actually when they completed Game of Death, did a lot of the scenes in the
yeah.
Game of Death movie that was put out as Bruce with the and all this. So there's another strong connection there as well because virtually all the footage you see in the completed film, except for some of the amazing kicks, which is by our friend Yun Bio again, who was one of the best kickers ever with Jackie, his
Mm.
team. It's all Kim, and so there is that nice connection again there as well, which I think Game of Death was 78, wasn't it? Yeah.
So
So
just before,
so
well, he died during the
that
making of it.
all ties in.
So it's really good. So we suppose we're getting onto the story now. We are changing our format to our regular viewers. We're not going to go scene by scene by scene because you're probably all falling asleep by now. So we're just going to give an overview. We're trying to condense how we do this and improve. So if you have any comments or anything like that, drop them in the comments below and let us know if you want us to talk more about the film, less about the film, and also don't forget to subscribe. Hit that button. Right. So. No retreat, no surrender. Young Jason, our hero, is training at his dad's dojo in downtown Los Angeles, in a very amusing moment at the beginning where he basically does a little bit of a Bruce Lee impression with somebody he's training with, and his dad has a go at him. And we get this whole prioritizing on, karate is for defense only. Do not use, all this stuff. Some gangsters roll up and are effectively putting the squeeze on them, want to take part of the business or take over. It's never really clear if they actually just want to take over the whole thing or whether they just want, like, protection racket money. But that's by the by. So Jason's father, he says, no, get lost. I'm not getting into this. So then one of the heavies that is with him decides to fight him. You get Jason's dad doing this whole line about karate is for defense only. Do not, and all this. And then he adds on the bit at the end where the guy's like screwing up to him. He goes, karate is for defense only. But if I have to, and then a little mini fight breaks out, and he's getting the advantage with this guy, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme, who's also there in a bright white suit. You can't help but notice him. He's in a bright white suit. Ivan the Russian, as he's known in this film. And he breaks Jason's dad's leg, who just starts screaming. Interestingly, he breaks his leg, he falls down on the floor, and in the very next scene, his knee's bent. So, and he's like trying to sit up. I'm like, how you've broken your leg, mate? That you just had your knee rearranged and you've bent your knee. This is what we're dealing with in this film. There are lots of continuity errors. It is what it is, as they say. So, it's like continuity took the day off, but the kick showed up early. It's one of those, really. So anyway, so they move to Seattle, and Jason meets a young kid called RJ. We don't really see how they sort of just meet and just become friends. It's like, hey, we're friends now, a bit like stepbrothers. And so there's a neighbor across the road who takes a distinct dislike to everybody, who's his name is Scott, but he's referred to as Fat Kid by most people, or Big Kid, even by some random builders who we see later in the film when RJ's running away from him.
Come on, big boy, jump it!
You know you can do it.
You can do it. Come on.
Come on.
Come on, boy! Get up!
Very, very 80s. Very un-PC. Anyway, so this all goes on. Jason at some point gets into a relationship with a girl called Kelly, who is the head of the dojo in Seattle, where he is, where Scott, the fat kid, trains, and a few others. And we get into a whole sort of Karate Kid kind of thing where Jason turns up at the dojo and for whatever reason, Scott concocts some story and it all goes wrong for Jason. He runs away. He then has a row with his dad back at home. This is something we will cover in a little while because the rows with his dad are quite important. They're not good, but they're quite important. So he has a row with his dad, and there's a big set two between them all. And Jason runs out because his dad basically wrecks all his karate because he's set up in his garage. His dojo is in the garage, which has the structural integrity of wet cardboard because it keeps falling through everything. He rips one of Bruce Lee's posters, so Jason flips out and runs off, and he goes and finds RJ, and RJ says, "Hey, there's an empty house down the road." Again, very 80s. These days, you would not be running into any empty houses. In fact, actually, usually in an 80s film, an empty house is usually a crack den. But there we
I
go.
was waiting to see Charles Bronson in there sorting guys
Yeah,
out, but no,
yeah, yeah.
it really was empty. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was actually in decent nick considering. Nice carpets, didn't smell of wee or anything like that or rubbish anywhere. It was just, a few cardboard boxes. Anyway, he moves all his gear in there and just leaves it there because he tells us he has to go home because his dad will send the cops out looking for him. So it's very trusting to leave, he's effectively squatting in this house, but he's left all his gear there, which he keeps coming back to. Anyway, he then rushes off or at some point he's rushed off to the grave of Bruce Lee, which he's gone to see earlier, in a very interesting scene where after meeting RJ for literally about 5 minutes, he allows him to drive his mum's car. He doesn't even ask him if he can drive, but he lets him drive the car because he knows where the grave is. Even though Jason states that he's a huge fan and he knows everything about Bruce Lee, but he doesn't know where the grave is. But anyway, by the by,
Good job the
'cause
name was on there, I
yeah,
think.
well, he also tells Bruce Lee at the grave that he knows so much about him, he brought his favorite flowers. I've never seen that fact anyway. But anyway, let's not let the stupid punt in the storyline. Anyway, then we get a whole bunch of montages where we see Jason training, and at the same time, his girlfriend Kelly, her brother, who is like the superstar martial artist who fights for world titles on TV. And he's now being threatened by these mafiosos who now turning up in Seattle. And it all culminates in a tournament kind of fight at the end where the three best Seattle fighters are going to fight three of these gangster dudes in a fight for the gym thing. Sorry, yes. And basically, they're just about to start fighting, and the mob boss, or the mob, as it turns out, he's not the mob boss. He's the heavy for the mob boss because the mob boss turns up at this thing. He's wearing glasses, so you can tell he's more important than the guy with the slick back hair. Anyway, at this point, he goes, "No, no, no, you're not going to fight my three fighters. We only need one man, and it's Ivan the Russian, who comes out with 10 cornermen in white." Yeah, and you don't see them backstage at any point. You don't even see them getting off the plane because you see the others come to the plane. You never see this. He's just there. Doesn't matter. So there's a big fight, and he takes out all three of them. He then is beating up Kelly's brother so badly that she picks up a stool to hit him over the head with, and he kicks the stool out and grabs her by the hair. Now, Jason, who's been sitting observing all of this, hasn't moved a muscle while these guys are getting battered and like abused. But the minute he grabs her hair and is not really pulling, Jason's shirt's off and he's in the ring and he has a big dust up, the big final fight with the big final move, which is a flip kick, which isn't really, not much of a crane kind of spectacular. It's just literally a 360 flip. And Jean-Claude Van Damme pulls out the ring and the mobsters go, oh, off they go. And that's the end of the film. So that is No Retreat, No Surrender in a nutshell. Initial thoughts, Mr. Malcolm Martin?
As I said, very simplistic. And as I said, with
my explanation or the film?
with Corey making his American debut, as it were, I think, as I said previously, he took a lot from what would have been popular at the time in Hong Kong, especially with the way the comedy within Jackie and Samo's movies was also prevalent. And he tried it here, but what they did here was, in Hong Kong movies, we sort of have a tolerance, don't we? We watch Jackie's pratfalls and Samo and Yun Bayu, and then we see this absolutely gobsmacking action, and we forget it. But here, everything is so dialed up. Characters are just brief caricatures. You take any daytime soap in any country, and that looks Oscar worthy compared to the performances here. Every single performance, except, funny enough, which you and I spoke about before, and I know this is your thought, except for Kurt McKinney. Kurt McKinney looks like your perfect daytime doctor's soap. Put him in a doctor's outfit with those looks and the acting style. Everybody else is, look, we're acting. Oh no, show it's so dialed up, and as you said, they race through it so quickly. Yet it still felt very long to me. With the fact that him and RJ meet, Scott, the fat lad, as you said, which we just wouldn't say those sort of things now. Instant dislike. The Dojo second in command also loves Kelly and is going to put it on Jason in all these different ways. Wherever you look, Matt, we can pull out at any point in this movie incredible scenes of absolutely horrendous acting with so over the top. Everybody shouts all the time.
No retreat! No surrender!
And as you said, continuity errors. The one redeeming factor for me is putting it in perspective for the time. The payoff at the end, the tournament scene, doesn't so much redeem it, but you do still go, wow, love Van Damme, love the fight scene. But everything else before it, every interpersonal relationship is so poorly handled that I had genuine tears of laughter in the so bad it's good moments. We've purposely condensed the plot because if we went scene by scene, we could spend 10 minutes laughing over the very. It's not like the next scene they put it right. It just goes from one bad interaction to another. You know, the dad, of all the people they could choose, I mean, obviously you see from the fight sequences he knows what he's doing a bit, but if I went to his dojo, he does look like where he ends up a barman or a guy that should be working in shoe store, you know, and that's even before we start on those 80s haircuts. All the older people, I mean, and then all the younger ones with the oh, Matt, I could go on forever. It's just overall the action, not even the action right throughout it. It's okay, but we all remember basically, don't we, Van Damme at the beginning and going, wow, look how he took out that guy because he jumps on the guy that's knocked down, does his immediate first. And then we remember the final bout, and some people nostalgically love the training sequences with Bruce, with the Bruce philosophy, which is all COD philosophy here. It's all like, you're going like, oh, really? You must concentrate but not think. Don't think but see. Don't see but hit. Make up your mind, Bruce.
It's Yoda training.
Yeah. And alongside, as we've already alluded to, Rocky style training in any free space where they probably didn't have to have permission to film, and
playgrounds
with him and RJ.
There is a beautiful scene during the first because there's several montages in this film. I mean, they've obviously seen the Rocky films and gone, oh, the montages are really cool. So he just shoves loads in. There's far too many montages. Literally everything in this film is a montage. It's absolutely bananas. I mean, you can tell it's the 80s because every problem can be solved with a montage and a bandana. That's kind of how this works. It just,
Matt, if you remember
it's nuts.
Delta Force, I have exactly the same problem again. That soundtrack. Every single.
Oh, no. No, I'm not having
I know
that.
you love your power ballads. Don't get me started. But every single training sequence is that awful
synthesized
80s techno beat and it just keeps going like dum, 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 and you're like, oh, and then you get the. I know. I thought of you when I was watching it. When the Eye of the Tiger sub style ballad rock thing comes on, and then when he dances with Kelly, the power ballad. I thought Matt's going to be in his element here. I was just like screaming. It's
No,
just,
actually, the school dance sequence is my most loathed scene in this film because it's almost a scene, almost exactly the same as Iron Eagles. Iron Eagle does exactly the same. They don't have the breakup bit, but they have like the black kids doing the break dancing, and they do all this kind of odd stuff, and it literally is like
mm.
plugged in, and they just add the breakup bit, which makes no sense because they didn't actually break up. He just got annoyed and run off with his ripped shirt because he had the fight with Dean, and Kelly was asking him to come back, so they didn't really break up. Very random. And while we're on the
She
Kelly and
knew. She
yeah,
knew. That was.
didn't it? So
But Matt,
the Kelly subplot, we've got to talk about
got to
this
remember,
because
we're gonna be falling apart here, mate, because
it, it, yeah, the Kelly subplot. So he has this girlfriend Kelly who is used in the same framing as Karate Kid. As there's the sub leader of the dojo is jealous because he's with her and he thinks he's going to be her girlfriend. She even tells him he's being a creep, which is quite interesting for the 80s because that's not what you tell people. Anyway, we never see them meet. We don't know why they're together because they act like they've been together for a long time, which then would have you asking, why does Dean think there's going to be something going on with him? It just makes no sense. And then also Jason doesn't know who her brother is. Now, if they've been dating, he must know. So that it all completely collapses. And they have this scene at her birthday party, and he brings her this box, this birthday party box. Now, in this box is a bunny. And he goes, she goes to him, how did you know? And he goes, well, you made such a fuss at the pet store the other day. What pet store? We didn't see any pet store scene.
Matt, he
Hey,
wrapped the
hello?
bunny in a box. It's actually wrapped with an
Probably suffocating. Yeah, because there's
he
no
should
air
have pulled
holes
it
in
out
there.
like this and go, oh, we'll have that for tea. I mean,
Well, he should have given her just a top hat and pulled it out, like a magician.
oh,
It
mate.
probably would have made more
These are
sense.
the things where, I was laughing so much because I knew you were going to bring that bit up. You just can't look at that and go, what? But everything you said there, they're meant to have been dating. Dean doesn't know. He says to his mates, at the end of the party, she'll be all over me.
Yeah,
This is how.
exactly.
And she's been dating Jason for God knows how long. He sort of knows her brother because he saw him on the TV. And Matt, the TV, wasn't that an incredible scene when they segue live from him winning the American title to RJ and him watching on TV? That TV wasn't just from the 80s; it was from the first television ever made, wasn't it? This
Yeah, but it was
tiny
in
little
colour. It
and
was
it
in
was
colour,
in
though.
colours. Oh, mate, it was when they do that transfer to it. I was in stitches. But every single meeting like that, if you think about it, this film is about so many hilarious meetings. We mentioned RJ's across the street when they pull up,
Yeah.
and the basketball scene between the two of them. They're both
It's
back,
so clunky.
and then he throws it to Jason, who just happens to be good with the basketball as well. But
Oh, no,
then
yeah.
they've just met. RJ helps him with stuff into the garage and then starts to rap and breakdance. They've met 2 minutes and he's like rapping and then he's breakdancing. And Jason goes, that's so cool. We're besties.
And then he
It's.
wrecks his garage by falling off all the shelves. Yeah, to
Uh,
be fair though, I do kind of remember being like that in the 80s. How you just meet somebody and you would sort of get into a bit of it. So I can forgive that. What I can't forgive is Scott across the road. He's just been shouted at by his dad because he's lobbing cans over the grass, sitting on his backside.
because they're acting.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
acting, man.
And he's told to clean the window and he's acting like his world's come to an end. Anyway, he sees the two of them over the road, so he decides to interject because he doesn't like RJ. Now, as you previously mentioned, we don't know what happened. We don't know. The inference is he's potentially racist, because that's kind of what I got the vibe of. Now, in this sequence, he immediately calls Jason Bruce, as in Bruce Lee. Now, he's not seen the most he's seen is the wooden doll. He hasn't seen the posters. He hasn't seen any of that. So why would he call him Bruce? And then he says the phrase he uses. Let me just quote this. He goes, "Bruce Lee freak, great. That's all we need. He trains at a karate dojo. He's a Bruce Lee freak himself." It's just it's bonkers. The whole thing's bonkers. But this is again. I do know there are three versions of this film. There is the American version, which was pretty much made for TV, and it's about 80, just over 80 minutes long. There's the international version, which is the most common version that most people have seen, which is 100 and something minutes. It's the version that we watched the film on. However, there is a third version, which includes the scene where Jason and Kelly meet, and it also includes a date they have at the Seattle Needle, which is a big important thing in Seattle. I've never been there. I will find a picture and post it so everybody knows what I'm talking about for context. But so these scenes are missing. The original version was nearly 2 hours long, and they obviously cut it to make it a bit more. But it looks like they cut it with an axe. It's like they've just whacked out important scenes. I mean, I'd be more interested in the how they met than the party. The party, all it exists for is for Jason to get beaten up again and his shirt get ripped, even though it's kind of weird, and him get choked on the table by Dean. And Kelly's brother doesn't question any of this, and he also doesn't question why the fact Dean's trying to get his sister in bed. That's kind of odd as well. And that's all that scene exists for. So you could live without that scene, but how they met is kind of important because we've got absolutely no idea how they know each other. And it's really weird because they're overly familiar with each other, and yet they seem to be newly dating.
Matt, but as I said to you, outside of the fight sequences, this whole movie is incredibly weird interactions by every sort of, as we mentioned, Scott, the in inverted commas fat kid, immediately is arguing with his dad the same way that Jason's arguing with his dad. The whole background is when you mention background, you and I both know one of the most hilarious scenes in the movie is his dad in the hospital bed with the I wonder why they're taking the dojo. They must be gangsters. And he's imagining this, and we get the voiceover, and he's going, they must be gangsters that want to use the dojo for drugs. I can't fight them. It's not in my way. We must just leave. And next we see the move to Seattle. It's that unsubtle. It's just like, and it's awful.
Yeah, I mean that scene again. When you think about it, right? So these gangsters offered to give him money for the dojo, and he turned it down. Gets his leg broken, and now he's running away. Just take the money.
Yeah, just say
take the
yeah,
money.
thanks very much.
And then move. In fact, you can use the money they give you to pay for your new house. It's like, yeah. I mean, also there's the bit where RJ is at the burger. What's it called? It's not Burger King, is it? It's Burger something.
The Burger Diner, and
yeah.
Surround him with his mates. That one.
Yeah, and Scott's inside eating and like getting because they're emphasising that he's a fat kid because he's like drooling mustard all down his shirt and stuff. Which I actually was just like, it's a little bit unnecessary. I mean, it's almost Animal House, but not funny. When Bluter does the whole zip thing.
I'm a zit. Get it?
It's a bit like that. Anyway, they go outside to beat up RJ, and Jason he's always in the car, walking into car parks when people are about to get beaten up. It's like he's got a little radar on his head. And, there's about to be a fight. Let me turn up. I'm a white knight, and he runs up. And for me, the most awful moment. I mean, I was literally like, every time I watch it, even when I originally watched it. He jumps out, he kicks a couple of them, and they all run round the side to get RJ. And they climb over the barricade, and RJ and Jason go back to back, and they're doing their karate stances. And RJ goes,
All right, no retreat, no surrender.
Jason, no retreat, no surrender. It's like, why are you saying that? That's really odd. And you can't fight. Why are you pulling a fight pose? You can't fight. And then the burger guy comes out and everybody scarpers and he grabs Scott and Scott's like, It's like you can literally pull away. The guy's like barely got your shirt. And then you get back and Jason gets a telling off from his dad. And another one of his, why are you fighting? How do you know he's fighting? Because you weren't there. No one told you unless the shopkeeper rang up, but how would he know your phone number? It's like, what? And so, yeah, so he's always going on about karate is for defense. They keep going on about this whole karate is for defense only, as if they were worried about a lawsuit.
And to reinforce the fact that he needs Bruce, we then have Scott setting up the initial dislike for Dean because when he goes to the karate dojo run by Kelly's world champion brother, Scott tells him that Jason was slagging off Seattle and saying LA karate is the best in the world and everything. Dean decides to get him to fight a genuine all-time kickboxing great in Peter Sugarfoot Cunningham. Now, what I find very sad about this movie, because as you know, at the same time as this, I was kickboxing instructor myself, is Cunningham was an absolute legend in the game for like he was like a mini Muhammad Ali, and rightly so. They pay him the respect of destroying Jason, while Dean and Scott are like villainous. Ha 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 ha. When it comes his turn at the end to fight Van Damme, we don't see any of that incredible Sugarfoot
Yeah,
Cunningham stuff.
speed.
That
You see him
speed,
dodge a couple of kicks,
and
but that's it.
I think again it's because he was the real deal out of all the people in this film, even Jean-Claude. When you look at records, Cunningham's is the one, and I enjoyed actually the bout between Cunningham and Jason because it really got to show off Sugarfoot's move. He does the little alley shuffle and everything, but it's all building up to this need and for the training with Bruce Lee. But that brings me to another point that I've always found strange, even the very first time I watched it. Kurt McKinney hasn't got mental health issues. When he goes to the grave for the second time and goes, Bruce, you're the only one that can help me. Does he actually genuinely realize that Bruce is dead? He was buried in that grave. I've
Technically dead. Technically dead.
I've never understood you are the only one that can help me now. And I know we get the lights and he turns up and we know he's a ghost because of the way RJ sells it when he's looking in to the abandoned house and he only sees, if they're not shouting, they're gurning. It's just like, I've never quite understood that. I mean, to be fair, outside of the actual fights, in a pure entertainment level, the training sequences with Bruce are fun. You agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, I think the first time I watched it, now bearing in mind I was 86, so I was 14. So I was 14 when we saw it, and it to me, I forgot he was a ghost. And just watched it as if he was really in the room. It never really occurred to me that he wasn't really there. But then that's a 14, and that's probably who this film was pitched at. 14-year-olds who just wouldn't.
Yeah.
They just wanted to go, wah! And
I can reinforce that, mate, because the very first time they train together, and he does, because Bruce, one of the famous quotes is "Be like water, be like this, that, and the other," and he shows the cup half full, the glass half full, half empty. With Diet Coke.
Yeah, and also, where did they get the Diet Coke and the water from?
Yeah,
it's a disused house.
Well, I mean, when we all know that the 80s was great for product placement, don't we? But they're subtle and it's like Bruce, like that, The only thing that was missing was Kurt McKinney going, "Don't spill the Diet Coke."
No, he should. I was half expecting refreshing, but yeah.
Oh,
but yeah, I mean, for me, going back to where, like you're saying, he gets beaten up at the brothers' dojo. I mean, every bully in this film looks like they're moonlighting as a backing dancer for a music video for the most part. So apart from Sugarfoot, who, like you said, is spectacular, but yeah, the Bruce Lee stuff it's funny looking at it now as an adult. It's like you said. So the white light would suggest he's actually concussed from the beating he's been taking. That's what that suggests, that he's actually either that or he's actually dead, and we're seeing this all in he's in purgatory or something. I don't know, but yeah, the white light through the door, and you're just like, what the absolute nonsense is this? And the training he does, it's really because what I put. So I've written this in my notes because again, we've said this before. We watched the film several times. I put this in my notes. Now, Bruce Lee was famous for saying that technique is what loses you fights because too busy, they're too rigid. People are too busy doing this, and they're doing katas and they're doing. And he said that's why people lose fights because they're rigid. What does he do? He teaches him rigid technique, and I'm like, hang on, that's not the teachings of Bruce. What's going on here? And then he starts, and then they suddenly find all these heavy bags. I don't know where they found them all because he didn't have that many in his garage, and they've suddenly got like 18 of them hanging around the roof.
Same notes, Matt. Exactly the same notes. It's like, what?
Yeah, where did that all come from? Unless that happened to be an ex-dojo in their garage at this empty house and they left it all behind. I don't know. And I mean, it's actually quite dangerous what he does. I mean, because he's teaching himself effectively because the ghost is not there. He somehow gets his leg into that rope and then he starts jumping up and, to emphasize that he's not good to begin with. He falls straight down and literally how he doesn't pull a hamstring or something from that rope and how when he's hanging upside down on the floor. And then we cut to the montages, which we're just getting into. So there's three key montages, which is one where he's no good, one where he's getting better, and then one where he's doing some really random exercises, like the inverted sit-up onto the wooden board in hanging upside down. And I was looking at that when I last watched it, and I'm going, what is that actually exercising? Because it's not flexibility. Well, I suppose it is flexibility, but it doesn't seem to have any use. Because if he's just trying to bend, he could just stand and bend and just hold his
Well, the
ankles.
other thing on there, Matt, is that's very interesting is he does this. I think it's to try and show that he's now getting to a level because we know that one of the other things about Bruce Lee was people were saying he's one of the fittest men on the planet because we see the
Yeah,
1 and 2 finger press ups, we see
yeah.
everything else, and I think it was trying to say that he really is becoming this shadow of Bruce Lee. But there's an amazing part where he's across like
Oh,
two
I
sets
was
of
going to talk
benches,
about this. Yeah,
neck, and
this made me laugh out loud. Like, laugh out
he's
loud.
doing this little exercise, and in the background is Mr.
RJ.
Gurney Wurney RJ, and RJ's creeping up, and it's almost like he's going, "But who's he doing it to?" And then he jumps on him. He jumps on him. Broken neck, broken feet, and then
I've literally written this down.
they're both on the floor, and there's like, "Oh, RJ, I'd have killed him if he hadn't already killed me."
Yeah, I mean, I literally wrote down, how does he not have a broken neck and back? Because he lands square on the middle of him and he just goes, he just folds like a deck chair. But we didn't have the rubber mats or the wood chips that we have now. That was concrete he fell straight onto. I burst out
Well, it's
laughing.
the setup, Matt.
But
Wonderful,
no,
mate.
it's what follows. It's what follows because then in the I'm now super fit scene, RJ is sitting on his groin, being bounced up and down by Jason on this, and I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure what to think right now.
Let's change the
If it was
subject
Kelly,
quickly.
yeah, if it was Kelly, I get it, but I was like,
Yeah. So
it
if
was
we
the
change the
'80s.
subject on that
Yeah,
to
that was
confirm finally just how fit he is, he outruns RJ on his cycle.
yeah. Oh, on the BMX, yes, he
Yeah.
starts off and RJ when he gets to the tree when Jason's run off and he's still doing his keep him warm jog. RJ fumbles the stopwatch. He can't turn it over to look at it. And when he gets to it, he hasn't clicked stop on it. And he goes, wow, how are you that quick? And it's like, how can you tell? Because the clock maybe have gone round in the time it's taken you to look at it. So yeah, the running after the BMX thing is pure Rocky 3. You're running down the beach scene. I mean, that's kind of what I got from RJ and Jason. It was Rocky 3. It was Apollo Creed and Rocky.
Yeah.
And they're doing this whole, except it's a little bit weirder and a whole lot. We don't talk about these things because people get put on registers thing. So yeah, it was just yeah, that was too
But it
weird.
all leads to the wonderful reconciliation with Dad, which serves two purposes. Dad
Does
was being bullied by a drunk in the bar he now works at,
yeah,
and he throws the drunk out in a very short burst of the original Karate Man that we knew. And the
yeah,
drunk says, "This isn't over." And picking up on your point, which just reinforces what you said, the drunk comes back with his mates just at the time that Jason's got to pick him up. because he's helping
Yeah.
mum. He's going to pick dad up, and the drunk turns up with all his mates, and Jason gets there just as dad's getting a beating, and then we suddenly see the Bruce Lee Jason, don't we? Where he takes them all out, and it's a nice scene. I mean, the choreography for the time it is good, and I imagine, as you said, the target audience going, "Wow, he kicks ass now!" And but what stands out for me is not that Kurt was very functional, or his double for the spin kicks was very, very functional. It's the dad. I was wrong, son. You do need fighting. No, I was wrong too, Dad. We were both wrong. Yeah, come here, son. Come here, Dad. Um, it's
Now, I actually have another problem with that scene, which I only garnered from my last watch. So there's four of them coming to beat him up. One of them, who happens to be the scriptwriter of the film, who Keith Strandberg, who is listed as Keith Strange in the credits as the Bar Thug 3. So he's one of the. So the scriptwriter is in that fight scene, probably part of the contract deal or something. I don't know.
they've
Anyway,
got any
so
problem with that, to be honest.
yeah, so Jason is doing away with these guys, in the typical one by one fashion, not all four of them diving on him. Typical fashion. Anyway, at one point, the lead bully walks over to a car which has its window open. He leans in and pulls out the biggest monkey wrench I've ever seen. I mean, it's like, I thought it was an axe to begin with, but it's a monkey wrench. Anyway, so he goes to hit Jason with it. Jason ducks and knocks him down, and he goes, "Right, get out of here." Now, all four of them run off out down the road. Now, he's just taken a monkey wrench out of the car. I assume that was his car
Yeah.
because if not, he's just nicked a monkey wrench out of somebody's car. But secondly, if it is his car, why didn't they get in the car and drive off?
Oh,
It
man.
doesn't make any sense. They
It's
run
the
off
one
down the
with no
street.
retreat, no surrender. But don't forget, we go from this reconciliation to, for
Oh,
me, the most cringe scene in the whole movie,
there's
where
a lot of really
RJ,
good.
and there's a lot of cringe scenes, so you know how cringe this is. Where RJ facilitates the reconciliation with the girlfriend and his two rap breakdance buddies, and he actually turns up with Jason at the nightclub dressed as Michael Jackson, basically, doesn't he?
Yeah, so there's the two who are in the red and black from Thriller, and then he's in like the King of Pop
Yeah.
setup. Yeah, yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
And you
In the
know
mu-
they haven't reconciled yet, because Jason is at one end of the dance floor like this,
and she's
and Kelly is like that the other
pouting.
end. And
Yeah,
RJ, just in case we don't know what he's going to do, taking his direction seriously, goes, "Yeah,
yeah.
those two,
Maybe they're all
mates."
just mutes. Maybe they're all just
Yeah,
mutes
it's
and they
like,
can't.
and oh,
And then
Matt,
it's really
I
funny
was
because
in stitches.
they split. So the two Thriller, the bloke and the woman Thriller dress up cosplay people, they spin around in the middle of the dance floor and put them together, and then Jason and Kelly just stand there looking at each other. There's a really awkward silence before either of them speak, and it's like, and line, and then
And
they're
then
like,
the music changes to the
the
ballad.
slow song, so they have to, yeah, and then they're kissing, and then you cut back to your mate RJ going like that, and it's yeah, you are right, it's terrible. And actually, I don't listen to the music in that scene because I'm typically going, oh my god. The best song is actually over the end credits, "No Retreat, No
I,
Surrender." For those who are watching, it is a really cool song. Which is actually it's actually the instrumental version of that song they're playing in the training montages. But "No Retreat, No Surrender" as an end song, big power ballad rock thing, I'm there for it. I am there. I should probably do a list of best end credit 80s power ballad rock songs.
if I was
Although
to remake it, Matt,
Gloria Love from Karate Kid 2 would be at the top.
if I was to remake it, I would have RJ as actually the guy in the corner doing the sign language. They are now back together. They have mixed up back, and they are. Oh,
Yeah,
he's
it's really bad. Anyway, end of fight time. So we get to the gym and all this and all the fight going. Now the fights are quite interesting. The first fight, Dean just gets he just gets wiped out. We haven't actually seen Dean fight properly throughout the entire film, and he gets wiped out. Then Sugarfoot does a few more ducks, but he gets wiped out. And we can tell they get wiped out because they get knocked over the top rope and they land on the floor, and that means they're out. Then Kelly's brother, and his name escapes me again,
Riley.
and that's it,
Ian
Riley.
Riley, I think it
Ian
is,
Riley. He puts up a bit of a show because he gets to the second round, and then he gets wrapped up in the rope, strangled with the. The referee at no point disqualifies Jean-Claude Van Damme for some of the stuff he does. He just lets it slide. I mean, my favourite bit of the Riley fight is when Van Damme, in his own, pretty much his only line from the, or one of the few lines in the film, goes.
You heard this before, yes? You mean? Then we fight.
Like that, in a really Belgian accent. In a really Belgian accent. He's meant to be Russian. He's clearly trying to do Russian, but it's very Belgian. And they go, yes, and then they just start fighting. And then
But
like I
Matt,
said earlier,
you talk about the ref. Now, I've got to be honest here.
that's a nice barnet he's got.
When you've took it out I've got written here, his hair should have its own film. It's like
No retreat, no surrender to the blonde hair.
And it's like the referee has gone, I love Chuck Norris. I can't grow a moustache, but I want that style of hair. But there's a few things I want to say prior to Jean-Claude coming into the ring, because we get the mix-up. We get the fact that these mobsters, they're mobsters. They're from New York. They're taking over the country. They're mobsters. You've got the big boss. You know he's a mobster because he smokes anywhere and no one can stop it.
And he wears glasses.
And he's suited. They don't seem to understand what mobsters are capable of or can do. Rather than go to Seattle, put a bullet in Ian and Dean and everybody else and Concrete Socks, they agree to a tournament, winner takes all, because they know they've got Jean-Claude. But you don't need to do that. Have you not seen Goodfellas? Have you not? This is what mobsters do.
Well, to be fair, Goodfellas wasn't out by then because that came out in 1990, so they probably hadn't seen it. No, they would have seen The Godfather, though.
Yeah. The other thing that I find is we've built up to this climax, and it's huge. It's New York versus Seattle.
Yeah.
In a leisure centre, and there's about 180 people in the crowd. It's like this huge. It's New York versus Seattle. The Manhattan mobsters versus the Seattle sidekicks, and there's under 200
Maulers.
people.
They were called Maulers, and I was just like, oh dear.
The Manhattan Maulers, and then so there's not even the like Rocky style crowd. It's like 200 people in a leisure centre. Jason turns up, although he's not in the team, totally kitted out to fight. And the second funniest bit in the whole film is he vaguely remembers Van Damme.
Yeah.
We have to have the flashback. And he goes...
And he looks at his dad, and his dad goes...
Yeah. And then you see the flashback with Kurt with his...
with his arm.
And he goes, that's who it was. Really?
Yeah. My other question is, why didn't somebody call the police?
Yeah. It's
there's only, like you said, it's a small gym. Nobody would really know what was going on. Why didn't somebody call the police? The other signifier that they were mobsters, slick back hair. That was the other thing I took from this. If you have slick back hair, you're trouble.
And you've already mentioned the guys that come in with Jean-Claude.
Oh,
in the white vests.
All 10 of them.
As I said, I was very disappointed in the way that after showing his skills, there was no fight with Sugarfoot. I understand why they had to do it with Riley. He's the champion, so he has to survive a bit more. But the one thing as well that you mentioned, I know you mentioned to me off air, the fact that, my God, doesn't Jean-Claude maximize his time on screen? I mean,
absolutely. He's on the screen for about 12 minutes.
The iconic split on the rope and the folding the arms. Now, I remember when I saw that first time back in the day, still in my 20s, jaw drops and you go, oh my goodness, it sets you up for enjoying this fight more than you would say 30 years later. It's just that we see there in that moment the beginnings of the Jean-Claude Van Damme that we get to know, which is almost immediately followed, remember, by Black Eagle, where he's totally black suited against Sho Kosugi, and we see these incredible kicks again. and again, as you said, we wait until Kelly's hair is pulled for Kurt McKinney, and then we realise why we've had this incredible training scene with the hamstring risking pull, because he's going to do the flip kick that he manages to do. There's two things I find very ironic about this. It's the flip kick that is used by Bruce against O'Hara in Enter the Dragon, when O'Hara grabs his leg.
O'Hara.
Yeah, and he flip kicks him there.
Yeah.
The other ironic thing is, if you know your films and you know your history, it wasn't Bruce that did that kick. He didn't do that, as he didn't do the flips at the beginning of the film. So it's very ironic that the ghost of Bruce Lee taught him to do something that he didn't do
That a
himself.
stunt double did, yeah.
Yeah, and that is, as I said, going to be the iconic moment. What I will say, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, is the final fight between Van Damme and Kurt McKinney of its time, where it stands in the 80s, delivers the goods. I really feel it does.
Yeah, it's poorly edited, because I remember on VHS it was even worse. There's a scene where Van Damme's in the corner, and in the version I now watch, you see Kurt McKinney sidle in and attack him. In the old VHS version, it jump cuts and he's just there. He's like not there, and then he's there. It's really, so I'm quite glad they sorted that out. But there are a couple of things in this final fight. There is Jean-Claude Van Damme with his other line.
So, it is you, son.
And oh, God.
You're good. I get better.
Stop. Just fight, all right? Stop all. It's really embarrassing. And then they keep cutting back, like you said, to the training of him doing all the various bits. Now, the jump kick sequence, I examined this morning. So in the training, he throws his right leg up. Bruce goes to Bruce, catches it, and he does the flip kick from there. In the end fight, he throws the right kick, and Van Damme catches it on the left-hand side. So his leg is actually diagonal and crossed. So he can't throw the jump kick. Van Damme has literally blocked the jump kick. However, they cut to the jump kick, and magically his leg is caught on the right side, so he can do the full kick. So yeah, Van Damme probably it was a natural thing. He caught him and blocked the jump kick. So he shouldn't have been able to perform the jump kick because he did it wrong. So that's a little bit of terrible continuity there. But in overviewing it, really, I mean, like we said, we have taken the mick out of it a little bit, but it is good. The fights, like we said, they're solid because of Corey Yuen. It's a messy film. It's a really messy film, but the fights are good.
When he's caught and he does the same to Kurt McKinney's Jason and wraps him in the ropes and is beating him up, which, Riley, the world champion,
that's how it took out Riley, yeah.
Thank goodness for RJ.
I actually thought when he shouted that out, they were going to wait for the guy from the burger joint to come and grab Jean-Claude by the shoulder and say, "Stop fighting." I mean, there's so much conviction in RJ's "No Retreat, No Surrender" that he actually spits as he says it. You're like, oh, he's really serious now. But yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's basically the Karate Kid after a few pints and a dodgy protein shake. I mean, it is. Yeah, it's okay. It's good. The fights are good. It saves the film, and it is. I think it's more one of those, sort of rose-tinted glasses memories than a film that stands up. And I think that's what it is. It's most of us were at that age. You yourself working in the shop, and me seeing it as my mate's house. I think it's the memory of it rather than. I mean, it's a bit like the Karate Kid. The Karate Kid is better, but it's still a poorly plotted film, and it got parents all over the world getting kids to do all the cleaning for them because they were learning karate cleaning stuff. So that's the film really. But my question is, so of this has launched Jean-Claude Van Damme's career, pretty much, sort of. You mentioned Black Eagle. So top 3 Van Damme films, go.
For me, Time Cop.
Yeah.
Universal Soldier.
Mm.
Again, because I'm being honest, I like budgets and a bit of sci-fi, and for historical purposes and for
Yeah.
seeing him in terms of peak condition and flexibility, you've got to love Kickboxer.
Wow, interesting choices. See now, yes, I mean, kicking down the tree is just, and the drunk dancing is definitely a sight to behold. And that was the first. Kickbox is actually the first Van Damme film I saw in the cinema.
Mm.
Uh, so for me, Bloodsport, you've got to put Bloodsport in there. No matter what you think about the whole Frank Dukes nonsense, Van Damme in Bloodsport, that was like, wow, this is the Karate Kid grown up properly. Even though, as we broke down in the previous episode, which you can watch, I'll link it up above. Make sure you watch the blood. There is some problems with Bloodsport, but Bloodsport. Now, I also really like Sudden Death, which is basically Die Hard at a hockey rink. I mean, again, it's not a great film. He's
He
going through
kicks
the
a
motions.
penguin. You've got to love it.
Yeah, and he dives from an exploding building from a helicopter and lands safely. Yeah, no. And there
Yeah,
is some really stupid elements to it, but what's good about that film mainly is Powers Booth, who is a
Howard.
brilliant villain in that film. So that's my number two. And I'm probably, see now, I'm not a big fan of Universal Soldier. I grew weary of it. I actually prefer the second one, which is rubbish. And is it? Yeah, it's Universal Soldier, isn't it? Too, the one with Bill
Yeah,
Goldberg in it. Yeah,
yeah,
I prefer the sequel. The sequel is just stupid, and Michael J. White. It's really nonsense. But I prefer that to. I find Universal Soldier just a little bit like. I think at the time I wasn't a big fan of Dolph Lundgren because I'd seen Red
yeah,
Scorpion and it put me off him. So yeah, so I suppose my third is probably Kickboxer because, like I said, Kickboxer is just great, and that is a film we are going to have to do. Kickboxer, we've got to cover because there's too many great scenes in that film that we cannot not cover that film. Yeah, I think that's about fair. So yeah, so no, interesting choices. Time Cop was the one that was his Under Siege. That was the one that really shot him to prominence, I
yeah.
think. And
Well,
then
I chose
I
that
also
because it
quite like.
also showed.
Actually, I quite like Lionheart, AWOL. It was AWOL over here, but Lionheart. I quite
Yeah.
like that as well because that felt like Pit Fighter, the video game. If any of you have played that, and if you're old enough, I might have to put a little clip of Pit Fighter, the video game, in here. But yeah, I do quite like AWOL. But it's another tournament film, and it's another guy shouting the title of the film, Lionheart. And then he starts
I
fighting.
chose Time Cop because it to me showed that given the opportunity, there is a bit more depth to him. He can carry a film where it's not all 100% martial arts. There
Yeah,
was it just showed that there's more to him. Like we've mentioned with a lot of the stars, the more they do, the better they get. The more you see actually nuances that you weren't there. When you talk about Stallone, you talk about Schwarzenegger, you talk about Jean-Claude. Not so much Chuck, sadly. I think Chuck found his niche and really went for it. But you do see over a period of time, especially funnily enough, I could give you any number of what we consider Van Damme's lesser films where he's come
yeah,
back from we know his torrid period of
yeah,
abuse and everything else. And he's made the comeback, and a lot of the comeback, like for example, Wake of Death and movies like this,
yeah,
have virtually gone straight to video. But as an actor, with the world weariness that was true for him, he'd been through a lot, he was recovering from a lot. There's a number of his what we now consider straight to video films that show he's got real depth there when he wants it. And the one
yeah,
that really sold me on him was his series, his spoof series, Jean-Claude Van Damme. If you haven't
yeah.
seen it, his comic timing and his ability is brilliant.
Yeah,
Um,
he's very self-deprecating. He's very clever at that.
exactly, and it works brilliantly. So I think I could have chosen any one of his later films, not as my favourites, but to say there's more
Yeah,
to this bloke than meets the eye, or there could have
yeah.
been, so to speak.
I also really enjoyed him in The Expendables 2. I think he's really good as the villain in that, and the M fight he has with Stallone is really quite fun because he's literally just taking the mick out of Stallone. And there are many stories I can tell from the press conference for that, but we'll leave that to an episode
Yes,
on
yes, I know. Yeah,
Expendables 2.
with Mr.
There are
Hemsworth, things like
Yeah,
that.
there are some very Van Damme handing out his phone number to people and serving tea before the thing started. It was but that's for another day. That's not for now because otherwise we're going to run long. So the legacy of um, No Retreat, No Surrender is like we said, it's kind of a rose tinted memory. So it gets us around, and it was one of those. Would you say it was one of the biggest VHS rentals for a long while in
I would say,
'86?
Matt, I mean, when you talk about legacy, I think the legacy exceeds, as we've alluded to, what am I saying? The entertainment value of the film, the legacy, is the fact that you've got to link it all in. EV, what they did, it was their flagship sort of like almost launch that says, watch out for EV, they're incredible.
Yeah.
We had a whole slew follow, as we mentioned, even changing titles to make No Surrender 2, 3, 4. I mean, I know
Yeah.
No Surrender 2 and 3 were genuine. And then you have the likes of Matthias Hughes, Lauren Avendon. You start seeing these guys as well. It's a snowball. For me, it's a long-winded way of saying that No Retreat, No Surrender is like the little snowball in the snow that you've got, and you start rolling. And
Yeah.
by the time it gets to the bottom of the hill, is this huge snowball. Cynthia Rothrock's in there, Keith Vitale, Matthias Hughes, Lauren Avendon, Keith
That's
Hirabashi.
literally the cast list of No Retreat, No Surrender 2.
Yeah, they're all in there for some way, but it started with that
Yeah.
little snowball that was No Retreat, No Surrender.
Yeah, I think I said this earlier. It was they took the Karate Kid and they did the canon thing with karate films and made karate films the big thing, or kickboxing and karate films. And then Canon took that and made the ninja. They moved it onto the
Yeah,
ninja stuff, and then that became massive. So yeah, its legacy is great, and like I said, it gave us Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'm surprised Kurt McKinney didn't go on to more. This was pretty much it for him, really. He appeared in a film not so long ago called The Last Kumatai, which brought together all of these action stars, Lauren Avon, all those guys. And it's again, that's worth watching, but it's not great, but it's worth watching. It really, and I don't want to use the pun, but kicked off the whole
yeah.
karate straight to video thing. So that's his legacy. So what? That's the legacy, but what? Which is what everybody is waiting to know, is your cheddar rating, Mr. Malcolm Martin.
Do you know what, Matt? This is the one that we've had a number where we've been pretty solid in agreement, and we've had some where we've gone, oh, this to me, out of everything we've done so far, is the hardest one to categorize
Yeah.
because I fall between two stools. If we look at what our Get to the Cheddar stands for, we've just shown, if we were to analyze this scene by scene, we could be here for 5 hours. It's so hilariously
Yeah.
bad. So as an hilariously bad film that has created an incredible legacy, got a fantastic documentary about it now, it's still being talked about. Guys that I respect in the business going, still love me some No Retreat, No Surrender.
Yeah.
You're thinking 9, 9.5, 10. When I look at it with these off, with these rose colors off, I'm going like, it's 2, it's 3. Where do we stand on what we perceive as the reason for the rating for the cheddar? If Get to the Cheddar means you won't get a cheesier burger in your life, it's got to be high. If you take what we've been doing, analyzing and saying, you've alluded to it twice today, the rose tinted glasses.
Yeah.
My rose tinted glasses were shattered last night watching that again.
They fell out.
They fell out. They just died, almost like the bunny would have done in the real box. So one part of me wants to say it's got to be a like 3.5, maybe even a 5 if I'm being generous, because the final fight scene is something that I still enjoyed watching. And then the other part of me says 11, because you won't see a worse movie with a bigger legacy, and with this great fight scene, but where everybody screams their lines, all situations resolved in the space of a second. The acting, as we said, Kurt McKinney is quite wooden, but everybody else is like, I'm in a film. So I'm really stuck on this one, Matt. I'm really stuck on this one. Yeah.
Well, I like you struggled for a little while, but then I went back to what we originally, when we were in Bahrain and we were talking about this back in the day.
Yeah.
We said the basis of this is, does it stand up today? And the honest answer to that is no, it doesn't. Because if I put this on in front of anybody who'd never seen it, so for example, my children, one who's 24, one who's is 21, sorry. If I put it on in front of them, I would probably hear language out of them I don't want to hear out of them, because they would be going, what is this? Whatever.
In that case, then I'm glad you said that, because that has really qualified it for me, because I said I'm going for the stool that is on the side that we're now deciding on. I'm going to be generous and give it a 4.
That's, yeah.
Because of the fight scenes. The
Do you know what?
fight scenes elevate it to a 4. If the fight
That's,
scenes were awful, we'd be giving it. This would be
yeah,
minus
the
50.
2, or yeah,
4
exactly,
for
yeah.
me, Matt.
That's exactly what I wrote down. Because of the fight scenes, it's a 4. Otherwise, it would be a 3, or
Yeah.
possibly even a 2. So yes, it gets a 4. So it is slightly lower than the Delta Force. So the music of the Delta Force still beats out.
Well, we have to check.
And I'm not playing that
Honestly, mate,
music anymore.
2 films
I
in a
went,
row. It's been my
yeah,
ears.
we need a good one. And funnily enough, as you mentioned, the next one, here we go. So um, next time we are trading playgrounds and ghost mentors for shotguns, shoulder pads, and a man who looks like he eats dumbbells for breakfast. Because when the mob get out of hand, you don't send in the police. You also don't give up at a gym either. You don't send in the police. You send in Arnold Schwarzenegger, because this is peak 80s excess. Questionable accents, tailored suits that look like they can stop bullets, and an undercover operation that is so subtle. It involves Arnold walking into rooms and immediately looking like Arnold. It's loud, it's clunky, and it's absolutely glorious. It is, of course, get ready, it's Raw Deal.
This must be what they mean by poetic justice.
Nobody gives Schwarzenegger a raw deal.
Fantastic. Love
So,
it, Matt. Lots to talk about there because, as you know, at the time of release, it was Marmite, wasn't it? So that's going to be great, mate. Looking forward to that one.
it is going to be fun, especially as it followed our absolute favourite and top of the tree, Commando. So it's going to be interesting to see how he followed up. And all I would say very early on is that it was maligned on release, but going back to it, it's actually a lot better than you remember. But anyway, because next time we're bringing all that heavy artillery. And you know what? Make sure you get to the cheddar.